Well, it's a good evening from the studios of Radio FM 88 Australia in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. And naturally enough, for Thursday nights, we have an hour show where we go live across the planet through YouTube and Facebook. Now, at this moment in time, our guests are spread quite geophysically all around the world tonight. So, of course, we've got our co-host in the UK, and then our two guests, one's in Romania and one's in Cambodia. So without any further ado, I'll hand it over to Andrina.
Hello, everybody. Welcome wherever you are in the world. And today is the 20th of June, 2024. And it's happy summer solstice here in the north. We're on the eve of, I believe, our solstice actually kicks in about 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. So happy wherever you are in the world. Well, today is my great pleasure to have the dynamic duo back on. So at the top, we have the lovely Rick Dewars. Welcome, Rick, and it's lovely to see you again.
Thank you. So great to be here.
And welcome, Lee, underneath. And it's great to see you again as well.
Thank you so much, Andrina and Jeff. It's been, I think, 2 years. It's a pleasure to be back on your beautiful program. Well,
I know.
Whatever. Thank you so much.
Amazing. It was 2 years ago, because it was like 2 years last April. I thought, oh my gosh, we know that time is flying by. So let's start with Rick, because I know you work with Prime Creator and you were instructed to construct a divine plan for GPMS.world quite a few years back now. And I think it'd be great for you to share your story, because we are the greatest time in history of change now, more than ever. And it is a time now for change, mega change, and people are ready for change, aren't they? And so it's all about people power. So I know that GPMS is about people power coming together for the right choices, nothing to do with governments and politics or anything like that, a completely separate entity on its own. So it'd be lovely for you to share all of this. I know I've got lots of questions, and also how it's evolved since the last 2 years since you spoke to us. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Adrina. I like to keep it simple, and for the sake of this show, Lee will come from the more scholastic view, if you will, and what I do is keep it as simple so that everyone can understand. So combined, Lee and I put everything together to cover the entire spectrum and presentation to the consciousness worldwide. Just to keep it, very, very short and quaint, if you will. I like to say I was human until I was about 47 years old. And part of that being human was learning the entire system and, discovering the lie, if you will. And with you could say during the time of being human, that was actually my awakening. And then occurred the special moment when Prime Creator Father spoke to I from the sky. And then I come to realize that I, upon earth, was actually disguised from myself like all of you. And there comes that moment, then what you're really on the planet to do, if you will. So to keep it simple, I was into trading into the financial markets, into governments, investigating all of that to its deepest core in preparation for GPMS and the ability to put it on paper for humanity. So again, just to keep it simple, what GPMS is, it is the entire replacement system for the current system worldwide. And what it does, it liberates humanity and places all of humanity equally and at once in a place of abundance. With this divine plan, if you will, this is what you call the promise, the heaven on earth, the rapture, the golden age, the new age, whatever you wish for it to be. That is all included in GPMS. It's what GPMS is. And mainly from Prime Creator, the promise is delivered to the planet, and it is GPMS.world. Now, it's being done, if you will, not so much what one might expect or anticipate with a divine intervention upon the planet. It's being done with through a technical and a logical way as well, and of course the material way of getting the souls to choose it and also to ratify it into law worldwide. So, to keep it simple, again, everyone is familiar with voting and how it works, and everyone understands and knows that a majority vote is what wins. So, in this case with GPMS, it's an accumulative worldwide vote that once we reach the majority, this new replacement system of GPMS.world is enacted fully into law. And this is some of the reasoning why we say it cannot be contested. Uh, for the simple reason it's an all-inclusive system that does no harm to anyone. So there is no justification by any opposing forces uh, to contest it. There, there would be no merit within any opposition to it, meaning that all governments and what have you must fold the way that they were, and they must comply with this new system when it is the majority wish upon the planet. So, with that, also, I'll just quickly say that some of the other basics of GPMS in its simplicity is we also recognize fully the right of self determination. And this is recognized pretty much all worldwide. However, its definition has been somewhat restricted, that with the right of self determination is your right of choice. And in reference to this, with this special right in the past, people only had the right to choose between parties and governments. What GPMS does, it expands as open that the people now have the right to choose the system they wish to operate by. Brand new system that gives everyone all of their freedoms, all of their unalienable rights, and of course their abundance. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Brilliant. Because obviously Lee's going to go into more detail, but I mean, for me, I think it's how you getting the message out, how you getting the message out to everybody, to and obviously it's about people that are, there's more awareness now, if you like, of what's going on and how we're being. There's so many untruths that are coming to light, which we all know. We've been waiting for all this to sort of come up. It's like the Great Awakening, isn't it, really? So it's like now this is a time more than ever to look into GPS. God, put my teeth in. Look into GPMS, and listen to what you're all about and the message that you're getting across, because it's nothing. It's a truth system, isn't it? It's nothing to do with all the governments, all the monetary systems, and all these different things that are going on. There's so much lies out there that they're just carrying on, but these lies are just sort of dropping away now. Truths are coming. People are ready to hear things like GPMS? That's my waffle.
Shall I? Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Over to me. Again, I reiterate a little bit of what Rick said. When I was fully human anyway, I was learning the same things. And what I've been able, since awakening, I was 49. So since awakening to that, then I saw a different way. I saw a different path. And my sort of stance now is very what I would call retroductive. So I look at function. It's kind of an erudite. Rick would call it. What it is very much more mechanical, very much more what's actually happening or why it's happening, as opposed to what it looks like. So I could see the old world and I knew what was required in it, but then I could see that what the new world would look like. And if the old world, all of the problems, all of the experiences that we've had, all the limitations, well, what's stopping them being removed? And what would the new world look like if they were removed? And this is from uncivil to civilized. And so I was able to divinely be able to look at the new world and retroductively bring it back to where we are and see what's required to get there. And this is how I look at GPMS. So it's each event is happening to destabilize the old events and create the new. But the choice to go straight to the new is always there for everybody. So for instance, everybody would agree on a simple thing like, wouldn't it be great if nobody had to work? But everybody chose to do what it was that they wished to do to help everybody else without having to need anything back because they had everything they needed. So rather than having to go to work to earn something to live on, a cost of living, you went to work to provide for others. It wasn't work, it was a joy. What would the world look like if everybody was having fun doing what it was that they were doing without any pressure upon them? And I think that most people would say, well, that's what we'd love to do. And so, but to do that, people have got to agree that that's what they would like to do. And this is the point about the majority rule. Can we say to everybody, if we agree, we can do this? We can remove this need of poverty. We can remove it instantly because we choose what we wish to experience. And in agreement, yes, people would agree. But then when it comes down to practical, when you ask, okay, well, this is what we need to do here, people stop because there's fear that comes in then about all of the other structures that are already in place. So what we've been doing, Rick and I, from different angles and different viewpoints, and all of our brothers and sisters in trying to explain GPMS, is not trying to show how it defeats the old, but what the new would look like. And it's up to us to create it. So we're not telling people what they must and mustn't do. GPMS doesn't outline what people must or mustn't do. What it says is this is the environment that we'll do it in. And everybody would agree with that until they look into their lives. And this is where the lies and the obfuscations and all the rest of it have been playing. So these limitations, these negations are they bring across a miscommunication or fears. So in very much what we've been talking to and what we've been uncovering and discovering is the amount of struggle people have to carry their true worth. And trying to give people worth when they don't feel it it's been very, very fun. It's been a funky and tete-a-tete. So this is where we are with a lot of this. We can see from the world, the way the world is working, anybody that looks on a larger picture. I mean, I found out yesterday that Australia's birth rate, for instance, is decreased down to very small, from 2.6 to 1.3 in the last 3 years. I found out that sperm counts in the male have decreased 25%. Birth rates are dropping on humanity, and all of this is going on in the background, but most people aren't aware of it. If they become aware of it, they would say, well, we can't keep doing that. There's something wrong here. And all would agree. But at the moment, we can't agree. So it's getting that agreement, and that a powerful agreement around a truth, that a true nature, something that is divine and something that is virtuous, has been difficult. But in that difficulty has been a lot of fun. Because we've been learning and we've been processing and we've been dealing and negating and removing timelines, removing all of these things as we progressed. So we're at a point now where most could see that everything the government control systems and the systems that are out there are doing are causing harm, but the people don't quite know how they do something about that. And GPMS is the vehicle of choice to do something about that. We're not going to tell people what they must do, but what GPMS outlines is how they will do it. And because people like to have details, they like to be able to see it, they like to step it. We can't prescribe what that is because it hasn't been created yet. It must be created by a choice to create it. So this is a little bit of that believing before seeing rather than seeing before believing. And this takes some faith and trust and some self-awareness and some willpower from the collective peoples who have been told and kept under the pressure of somebody who's told them they can't use their willpower. So people are having to choose to use it and choose to use it honorably. And GPMS is that vehicle, that collection vehicle for that. And then we move forwards with it. So I hope that continues what Rick was saying.
Yeah, no, that's I love you've put it in a lovely way, and I know you've had a lot of practice in this because it's like, well, you know, how can I help here to get the message out as well, apart from, you know, like we'll share you guys here, there, and everywhere, different places, and give people the choices, listen and make up your own mind, and if it resonates with you, then please sign. I mean, that's all you've got to do. You don't have to sign any agreements, any terms and conditions, any of all that blah 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 stuff. You know, it's so simple. You can't make it any easier, can you, really?
The one of the funky things that we're here to bring we're here to bring change, divine change. All of our divine brothers and sisters are to bring change to what was limited, to bring unlimitation. One of the hardest things we've had to deal with is the negated reasoning. So, for instance, we're not asking anybody to sign anything because signature, sign away. Signature means fall from nature. It means to fall, to signature. So we understand these things. We ask people to consent. We ask people to agree, to allocate their accord, to align themselves. That's all. And again, with all of this, people put in different words and they cause negations in their own mind as to why they can't. GPMS is all about why you can. And this is one of the problems we found. When we say about GPMS, we're told why we can't. And yet it's all about why we can. It just needs people to say, yes, we can, and do it together, not in division. So one country can't clear themselves. One country cannot get free because all the other countries' brothers and sisters are still slaves. So this is about division across countries, across borders. Patriotism and nationalism doesn't work. It's division. It's divisive. It means you won't agree. This isn't about governmental agreement. This isn't about politics. This is about people genuinely, from the heart, agreeing to benevolently assist each other as we would if we were given the choice. We would all say we would do this. We would all say in a room, if we were asked, yes, that's what we would do. Yet when we're given the choice to, we find reasons not to. Or that's what we found. So what we're still here. You asked what's happened since 2 years ago, since this started. And we are delivering the message, but much more focused. And what's happened since is that there's been a lot more implosion, collapse, a lot more lies being seen, a lot more damage been done by people, not by people, but by the system, to show the people that sooner or later they have to agree with each other to stop it. GPMS is that agreement. Divinely.
Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Right. Rick, do you like to come in and say some more?
Yes. What I'd like to add, people also can look at GPMS, for it truly is a public proclamation. As you see with the decree, what is written on the site is everyone is proclaiming, if you premise the decrees, everyone consenting to this proclamation, and this decree is also the lawful structure of it that cannot be surpassed by any other entity upon the planet. It is the ultimate, if you will. And, with the consenting process, it only takes approximately 3 minutes for someone to add their vote, which is their agreement yes, they want this totally new, thriving, and free world. And again, under the simple understanding, once we have gathered the majority vote worldwide, reality is supported by what the majority of the people think and want. And with this, once they all want this freedom, no more hardship, no more stress. Once the majority wants this, then it's enacted into law as the new reality. So it is a public proclamation by the individuals, and once it reached the majority, it is the law. It is the new replacement system, and it is so simple with this. We don't need to, with GPMS, it is the absolute peaceful solution, meaning that we don't fight against any governments or any opposing forces. We don't need to. We know what GPMS is, and all the people need to do, the majority, is to choose it. And it's done. Again, there is no contest by any opposition to this. So, there's so many ways that we present GPMS, and from so many individual perspectives as well. We have just Lee and I as only two of the guardians of GPMS here today. However, there are more than that, and it's growing daily, if you will, or let's say at least weekly, with more representatives that join with GPMS and know that this is the replacement system. Now, also with the Great Awakening, it needs to be understood that one of the divine incentives that is instilled in one when they begin to awaken is to know that there is something else, that this actual current system and world is insane. So, as part of their process, ones will be given, let's say, information to show them and direct them towards what is civilized, as Lee has said. And what is civilized is GPMS. So it's already constructed, it's already a reality here. It just needs to be populated by the majority and the awakened ones as they come to see what their divine intent was to cause, in effect, the change upon the planet. I'll stop there. Thank you.
I can just add a little bit more, if you
Yes,
wish,
please.
Andrina, just a second. It's beautiful because what Rick is talking about there is representatives, and what we GPMS must grow through the people, and each will contribute their time. And we used to call those contributors. So we were all contributors to GPMS. And what we did last week was change that designation to representative. So what we're asking, with this, GPMS can't occur unless the people choose it, and therefore the people must people must build it. So we need, for GPMS to happen, we need contributors, we need representatives, we need people to represent GPMS and share it with everybody else. Anybody that's sharing it with another is a GPMS representative or a contributor. They are volunteering their time to share the truth to another and give them that choice. So anybody that chooses to represent GPMS can represent it in any way they wish, be it share it with your friends or share it somewhere else. And this is how the viral growth or the organic growth, the true natural growth. So each has the choice, and each then can back their own choice. Each has equal value. So each is valued equally, and therefore each choice counts. And how one shares it is up to them. It's as good as everybody else sharing it. So they are as equal a representative as everybody else is. So GPMS equalizes all of this and makes it very equal. This is the point about a civilized world. It must understand and operate under equality. Otherwise, it's uncivil. And so this is what GPMS carries with it, is that equalizing, and that's how it can respect and can continue forward, understanding that everybody's unalienable rights are theirs, the same as yours is yours, and they can't be taken or given away. They must be equal, and everything can be respected equally, and that we can build then on. The old world must collapse, and that was where inequality was. So that's just to add to Rick before you continue. Thank you so much for allowing me to do that.
Oh no, honestly, I mean, you free to come in and say whatever, because obviously this is a powerful message and it's going out on the eve of the eclipse. So what could be more important, as far as I'm concerned, in getting this message out? And yes, like I said, we'll share, and I'll put little notes into different groups, and just take a read, have a listen, and you feel you'd like to share. And but there are so many people ready, more awakened or more aware, whatever you want to say, now more than ever. And it's like we're on the tipping point of change, aren't we? As I see it anyway.
We're at the point of collapse of the old world, the point of death
Yeah.
and rebirth, metaphysically. There's many out there that will understand that, many may not,
Yeah.
but they will, as they undergo the process. But this is about the new world. This isn't about the release of the old is being released. That's divine. That's happening. The choice of the new is being encouraged, but it must be chosen by each from their free will. So, for instance, we know, Rick and I, from what we're doing inside GPMS, that we can never fundraise for marketing. GPMS
No.
itself can't do that. Individuals can, but GPMS can't, because that's an old world tactic. So we can't use old world tactics to share GPMS. We can't use anything from the old world in GPMS, because otherwise we're taking it forward with us, and it doesn't exist there.
Mm.
So a lot of this is about understanding that we are really we are bringing the future to the past, and we are introducing it and holding it in the past for people to choose it and then embody it themselves with action. But these actions must be benevolent, in line with love and consciousness, which is in line with harmony, which is what divinity works on. So yeah, there's a lot more involved in GPMS than one may feel. This isn't a man-made project. This is very much more aligned to the new world and the requirements to get to choose it, which are being divinely supported, let's say.
Yeah, totally. Sort of going on.
May I just add
Yeah,
a little
please.
bit? Thank you, Andrina. I just wish to add, none of this would be possible, the GPMS.world, neither would the Great Awakening be. It's all divinely orchestrated and ensured with this. So, had there not been direct divine intervention upon the planet, no one would have been awakening to the great lie. So, what I wish to say that this is all part and parcel of the divine deliverance to the planet. And believe me, I nor Lee or anyone else would be wasting our time with our Christ consciousness we are at doing GPMS if it was not guaranteed. I know this with full conviction, as well as Lee and others. And this is why we are the mainstay divinely to take this to fruition. And again, we would not be here. We don't get paid for this. This is not about our own personal incentives and gains. It's about the whole new free world for humanity. And each of us, the guardians, if you will, we are divinely supported and ensured to the degree that we need to be to take this forward. But yet, for myself, and I speak for this, I need to come from a very conservative, humble financial position where what I do, and Femke, my partner, we fund from the public only with basic needs in the amount of funding, financial funding. Now, having said this, what we have for the last 2 years at least and longer, what we survive off of each year through all of the funding is actually less than the poverty rate of one in the Netherlands, to let you know. And also in Canada, what two of us survive off of is what is considered poverty. Now, I need to say this to show ones that this is not a personal gain incentive. And as Lee also said, it's why we don't wish to contaminate the main vehicle of GPMS, with promoting with money, if you will, from the old. Because there is a lot of energetics involved in this as well. The money is from the old system. At the source of that money, if you will, with the U.S. dollar in the Fed, where they put, you know, what in God we trust on it. Actually, that is not the real God. That is their capitalistic Babylon God of darkness that controls people. And, with the energetics surrounding that, when they put it out, then people endorse it and think they're speaking about the other God, and they use this money. But I don't wish to go deep into um, explaining the dynamics and energetic effects of it, but I wanted to show this as, we are very meticulous in the contamination from the old. We wish to keep the mainframe of GPMS as pure as possible. So
Yeah.
GPMS would not be possible if there was not direct divine intervention, insurance, and assurance in the guarantee. And with this, we know others might not believe it and don't know yet, but there are many out there that individually know it as well. That when they see it, they identify with it, and they know it's what they've been given with their connection to mother, father, prime creator, source, or what have you. So thank you.
And again, I can continue if you wish, Andrina.
Yes, please.
Beautifully, what Rick's just said there is awesome. This is the thing that we've been dealing with, and what Rick's just said there about in God we trust and in the money we trust. That's one of the biggest deceits that's ever been. The value that's been placed in money, and that devalued every individual into how much money they were worth. So, in considering money and finances as an exchange value, ones have devalued themselves and become worthless. I know because I did, and everybody else I've been around did and are. So, when one's considered the loss of value, when one's considered the removal or the change of the value from a monetary system, something external to them, to carrying their own value and valuing themselves above the form of exchange, and not putting value in a form of exchange, but realizing their own value is limitless and unlimited, then in the old system, in the old world, there's a fear involved in that, because ones are not worthy of carrying that value. How am I worth more than trillions of dollars? Well, the trillions of dollars are worth nothing if you don't give it value. And this is where the deceits lied in a lot of the old world, is that humanity has been taught to value, or indoctrinated to value, that which is valueless at the expense of themselves. And this is the point of where we are. The Great Awakening can be seen as a revaluation, a re-evaluation. Ones will re-evaluate everything within them, and therefore re-evaluate everything without them, outside of them. And GPMS is the re-evaluation tool of the outside world. Once ones have completed or enough of their internal re-evaluation, I am worth freedom. I am worthy of self-determination. I can make choices that are honorable. I don't need to be told all the time or governed what I must do by an authority that is totalitarian. I don't need to suffer poverty, and nor do my brothers and sisters. We are worthy of more than this, is a simple choice. Yet, once we give that choice, ones will then come up with all the reasons why they can't make that choice. This is where we were. Now we're at a point of where we are, and ones are still able to make that choice at any given time. GPMS does require the quality of the individuals and them to come together and agree and share it, because we know that that's where we're going. We're not going there in 6 months, 6 years, 6 minutes. We're going there now, and there's nobody else need to suffer if we agree to that. But this is where we've been, and this is where we're progressing through, and we are at a point of huge change, I believe, and a very much of sea change into more and more seeing that, and then it becoming more of a the ball will pick up speed, the snowball will pick up speed and gather more pace as it rolls. We've just been maintaining its forward momentum until humanity were ready, or the ones were ready to join and then they can help us, and then we, and this is the whole point of what it is that we've been doing, and we kept that, what Rick was calling there, the lack of contamination from the very beginning, and we're not about to negotiate it into it now. So this is where we are.
Right. Going on a slightly negative of the old world, if you like, or old world order. There's a lot of people waiting for change. They're waiting for the RV system to come to fruition, if you like. People are saying the banks are about to collapse. There's so much different fear mongering and all sorts of things that's going on at the moment. Is there any advice or any guidance that you would say, with all of what's going on to where we are now, what would help humanity in any way?
Can I go first, brother, quickly, and then you jump in with the kind one afterwards?
May I?
The advice would be, do you want to go first?
Yes, please. May I?
Go on.
Oh, go ahead, Lee. Then there's a little. What I wish to say again is, and Lee will fill in and add wherever. Okay, am I all right to keep speaking a little bit?
Yeah, please.
It's working.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, thank you. So, the main problem on the planet was the assignment of value. And when you look at the capitalistic system and its extrinsic assignment of value to gold or something, that a few actually owns, holds, and dictates the prices of it, that's how they control all of humanity. So that is an extrinsic assignment of value that was imposed upon the people to subjugate them to that extrinsic value that someone else owned and controlled. This is what took the people's freedom from them. So with GPMS, and again, slightly going back to the right of self-determination, also comes the assignment of value. And to liberate humanity freely from the control of the elites, if you will, what we do is we shift that assignment of value from gold, their money, all of the natural resources, and you shift that assignment of value to the individual, which is the unlimited value that we have. Ones need to realize the value on gold or precious metals. None of that would not exist if we did not exist and support it. And therefore, there comes our choice to end this insanity once and for all. We reassign the value to our unlimited selves and do what is right and create the equal world for all, so that there is no suffering. So there's many narratives out there, because ones need to understand that there is an actual evil upon the planet, and they were the masters of deception and trickery. And frantically, they're trying to maintain that control on humanity amidst this great awakening. But they have lost control. But in their desperation, they create false narratives, and they throw little bones, little incentives in attempts to buy ones into believing that something is coming, but it's also to buy them into complacency while the darkness carries on their big agenda, if you will. So ones need to realize the only way to beat that system is to regain your full co-creator power and assign the value onto yourself, which is unlimited. This way, none of the darkness, if you will, can buy anyone. There is no incentive any longer. With GPMS.world, everyone creates and has more than enough money. They are not dependent on any system that has gold as a backing or natural resources. These are finite, if you will, sources of value. The individual is the infinite source of value because we are the co-creators. And again, if we were not on the planet, gold would have no value, any of that. And this is part of the trickery by the darkness to keep ones in control. So I'll stop there. I know Lee's got a beautiful, articulate addition. Thank
No,
you.
but I had to bring in the old negative side because I know people, you know, there's a lot of fear energy still all around all of the monies and all of these old systems and that are dropping away. So please carry on, Lee.
Well, now Rick's gone down that route, which I was going to open up. I'll go down a different route slightly and say why those fears are being represented is because ones are holding shame within themselves. And there's the fears. That's where the fears come from. And these are being released now. So the shame is being released within each other. And that requires each to forgive themselves. And in extrapolation, they will forgive each other. And this removes the division and the separation. This is the creation of harmony from disharmony. And the function of love and consciousness is to create harmony. So if we looked at a rebalance, a redress, a reevaluation, then shame is a very low frequency and it's distorted and it's been used to control the people, the humans, if they've been held in shame. And this is extrapolated into blame, shame, and all of the other things. Sorry, blame, angers and humiliations and all of these lovely torments in this lower region. So this is what's coming to the fore, and one's waiting for things to happen for them. How did that work every other time you've waited for things to happen for you? Most people will realize that things don't happen for you, they happen, ones that are waiting for things to happen to them. So ones that are waiting for somebody to do something good on the outside world, and how many times has that worked? It hasn't, ever. So why would they do it now? And ones will also realize that how often has a few done good for many on a global scale that involve money or systems that involve capitalism? They haven't. So this RV in GCR is being done by who? Who's doing it? Nobody knows. There's a few people doing this and they're bringing it to us. Jazara and Azara, yeah, there's a few doing this and they're bringing it to us. What? There's 4 billion, 5 billion, 6 billion humans. Who's doing this for you? The same system is offering you a carrot on a stick and you're waiting for it. And you're waiting for it. And whilst you're waiting for it, you're observing poverty, death, starvation, pestilence, famine, disease, all of these other wonderful things, waiting for a few to do something for you. To you or for you. It just doesn't make any sense. Can you see how valueless that is? And this is the consideration. This is how devalued each is. But that's shame based. And this is on the internal side of each. They just didn't know to love themselves or to anybody else. And anybody that's gone through this process will know the same things happen to them. They didn't know they weren't loving. They didn't know they weren't caring to themselves. They didn't know the higher truths until they'd gone through enough shame to release it. And we are where we are. And this is what's happening right now. And Rick and I know that we are currently moving to a place where that doesn't exist anymore at all in the human experience. And this isn't very far away. But this wouldn't be the human experience then, it would be the higher human experience, because the lower human experience is the one that contains these frequencies. The higher one doesn't. So when we refer to ourselves as fully human, we were fully submerged, if you will, in those lower frequencies without knowing that there was higher ones relatively. And that's what hid us from them. But once they are mastered, then you have your higher human, and this is where we're going. GPMS is the vehicle to that. Through the release of shame and forgiveness, then the unity is applied to humanity, and they choose it themselves through the divine support that they are being given by the divine intervention, both on and off planet currently. So I'll take it that way. Rick went his way.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. I totally understand, what you're saying and where you're coming from. But and obviously there's so many different points of views on this, and it's like when you do your own inner work, then you have this knowing, and you're releasing all the negative beliefs and thought patterns that you've taken on board. I mean, in the past you've not been taught all of these things, to love yourself, to look after yourself, that you are God, you've got the God within you. And, you know, but it's like little ways are coming through now in different ways that people are feeling different and knowing there's something else going on. You know, this is really happening now more than ever.
Yeah, and so what you just said there is perfect. And what I'm blessed, and Rick's blessed, and a lot of us are, to have the sight from higher, which really allows. I don't speak with a point of view. I'm not speaking from an opinion based on experience. What I'm speaking from is a function of creation, a functional harmonic. So how the disharmonic is harmonized to harmonic, and how that looks in function, not in form, not what it looks like, but what it does and why it does it. So it's not a point of view, it's not an opinion, it's not a perspective, because I'm not looking at anything. What I'm looking at is what it's doing. And therefore it's functional, and we would all agree that happens. So it's not a perspective-based thing. We're not seeing it from a different angle. We're seeing that the same thing happens over and over and over again. When we go into something with a lack of love, it will collapse. When we go into something open with benevolence and trust and faith and innocence, it doesn't, it expands. And this is where the frequency, the physics, actually, once we understand the physics, then we can see the energetics, and we can see how alignment with purity amplifies and creates harmony. Alignment with impurity creates disharmony. And so that functional part is where I'm looking at it from, not so much a perspective based on the forms. The forms represent themselves. Any limitation represents itself within the function. The limitation is seen, given the it's shown to it, to the one that's limited. The universe will show the limitation in their experiences, and then eventually they will realize it and move past it. This is the way it works to form harmony. So we've all had these experiences all of our lives. We just didn't know. But this is the physics, and this is the psychology, and this is the new energetics that are coming to the planet now for ones to understand, that make everything a lot simpler once they release their complexity, and that's held in the shame. So we're very close to this, and we know the sacral and the shame areas are very much being removed at this point, which will allow for GPMS to be seen and allow for a new term of value to be embodied, a true value in our human brothers and sisters and in our divine comrades, so that we can unite and agree and build, but with purity, not impurity, with honor, not dishonor, and certainly with grace and not disgrace. So all of these things would be seen as a functional thing, without putting anything to them, without putting color to them. Just, yes, we agree. But to do it, what we must agree to is unite and not have these disagreements which cause breakdowns in communications, because there's no agreement there. So this is a fundamental thing that is happening across the consciousness of humanity and across the human experience, that we can talk about from our own, because everything fractals. The small becomes the large, becomes the small, becomes the large. So what we see in our own experience, we can see in the human experience as a collective, each involved in a different aspect of it, but all playing the same game. And this is the point about how GPMS is set up. We understand that. Let's come and play it for the benefit of all, because the demons only want to play it for the benefit of few. But speaking about these things when everything is so complicated for once can get lost in the weeds, but not for much longer.
Yeah, fantastic.
Right. Okay, I'm going to speak now. I've been listening to you guys. Hey, what I've noticed throughout history is that we have Machiavelli politics as a way of demonizing the opposition, and it's been a game plan played by whoever writes history, which is usually the conquerors. And so when we have a new product coming out, like in the videos there, we had the beta and then we have VHS. So there was a fight to try and get the strength of becoming who's going to be the number one DVD player, video player. And we see this constantly. So at the time, you guys are coming through with your GPMS, and then we've got Justara, and then we've got Bitcoin, and then we've got digital stuff. So there's a fight for humanity's attention for a form of an exchange for goods and services. what I've been listening to is the fact that three of those concepts are all based on the sacral, as for anyone who's a spiritual person would understand about the seven chakras and how you can get into flight or fear, and you want to look at your security and your safety. But as you pointed out there, Lee, was about raising your consciousness to a point that you let that go in order to allow a higher vibration that was always being created. And if we start looking at our stellar brothers and sisters and other constellations who have evolved, I would have to say, if they've turned up on this planet here, they've evolved well before us in terms of their economic strategy of goods and services, if you want to call it such. So if I'm back in the Pacific Islands there, living in a world where we didn't have a central banking system, but if you go and catch a fish and then I'll cook it, and then you get the fax leaves and you make a basket, that was their form of bills of exchange for goods and services. So now we're in the Western world where we've got so comfortable with our Hug boots and we've got our jumpers and we can procure and buy anything in the commercial world by just handing over a coin. The thing is that raising that consciousness, those other three operators are going to be using their form of currency to win the heart and minds of people to play the same game that they've been playing on this planet for the last 200 years, since the Rothschilds won the Battle of Waterloo and took over the city of London with Nathan Rothschild. So the fact is to get the hearts and minds coming on a show like this and other shows and propagating a concept of raising your consciousness to allow something of a unique perspective. It's almost like Gene Roddenberry in the Star Trek show, when one planet said, we thought we were the center of the universe, but now we just realized that we're one voice in the choir. And so really the choir is the stellar world, and how could we join our brothers and sisters from the stellar world?
Beautiful, Jeff. And if you understand that, my friend, ever so quickly, I will openly say to you that we've been given that sacral is released from our experience in a few months. Released. This is divinely removed because we no longer exist in the fourth dimensional space. It's only required for fourth and third dimensional space, and as are the other areas of geometry which creates the vessel. But the sacral area will be removed. It will not be operated from. The demons are trying to control people from the sacral area, but humanity has no choice but to release it. So when we are talking literally to when that sacral is released, we are bringing that back to a point whilst it's still here, and trying to say, come on, release it now. Let go of your own suffering. Let go of what they tell you. Let go of material existential being. Release this limitation. You don't need fear. Sacral is fear. But that's difficult to release. And I know because I fought against it for 49 years too, before I actually did it. So yes, bringing that to the table, absolutely. The others work on the sacral. The sacral doesn't exist in the new world.
Hey, I just want to take you to a series of books that were they're called The Masters of the Far East, and it's written by a guy called Bard Spalding. And there was a group of 7 Americans went into India, Nepal, and the Gobi Desert, and they actually engaged with the masters who are 600, 700, 800 years old and even older again, who simply talked about the fact of raising your vibration. And it was a bit like the Celestine prophecies. You raise yourself out of fear and you go into a vibration that other people can't see you. But in the masters that they met, these guys could actually manifest seeds, or they could manifest a plant, or they could actually manifest flower, or they could actually say, well, the universal substance is right there. If you want to ask for a loaf of bread, you have a loaf of bread. And as you ripped apart the loaf of bread, it was still a loaf of bread. So, and they could actually teleport. I mean, that to me was where humanity's was. And that's the journey that I think that humanity is going to, with the freedom of being able to engage and bring in your whole godlike, your I am presence, be able to teleport not only on this planet, but teleport to other planets. But also, if you required sustenance, you just simply asked and you received your sustenance. So the story of Jesus about feeding the 1,000 loaves of bread and fishes, these guys in the Masters of the Far East, that's a fantastic books. There's 6 books in that series, but the first 3 is, if you read them, you'll grasp exactly what's being said, and that was back in the 1890s. You know?
One of the biggest lies, one of the biggest stealers of value was evolution. The idea of evolution. This is what people have done is devolution. They've devolved. That humanity has devolved. It hasn't evolved. It was very, very, very much more than it is now. It's undergone devolution under the experience of evolution, and that's the inversion again. Like humanity has agreed that money is valuable, and they're not. They've agreed that they've evolved to this state, and therefore think they are at the pinnacle. Now they're at the lowest point, and it's the upside downness of it all. So what you're talking to there is absolute multi-dimensional travel, plasma dimensional travel. We are masters of frequency and time. Time doesn't exist. We are masters of time, and so we choose time, but not in this frequency yet. But those remnants that were still available then, those masters, they could still access that then. But we are where we are now, which is a lower frequency, always the lowest frequency, to pick all of our brothers and sisters up and remove and pull them all back out. So this isn't about leaving one and being a master on your own in the desert at this stage, but that was necessary for us to get those time capsules for now. What this is about now is right at the bottom with everybody else. Come on, and nobody's going to be left behind. At least that's the protocol.
I understand. I mean, those guys that I just spoke to you about, the masters, I mean, because they actually raise their consciousness in this realm, it allows them to come back into this realm. But when people pass over and give up their physical body, they're unseen by these people in this frequency. So
that's assuming we're locked to this frequency.
Correct.
And there's no reason when you transmigrate or transition or pass on, that you don't manifest into another body on a 5th dimensional period, 5th dimensional, 6th, 7th, or 8th, in a different dimensional aspect on the same overlay in the same place. But you wouldn't be witnessed in this dimension because it would be different frequencies. So Correct. Even though you don't come back and get locked into this body, doesn't mean to say you're not in a different dimensional physics. And yes, you can manifest here into the 4th dimension, 3rd dimension. But to do that, you had to have the sacral and the lower frequency energy centers. That's not what we do naturally. We wouldn't choose to do this naturally on a divine higher level, but we have done this time to make whatever. So yes, absolutely agree, brother.
Carry on, Andrina.
Right. Numbers.
Sorry.
Go on, Lee. No.
No, the consciousness rise is based upon the amount of frequency, the percentage of shame you have. So shame is based on percentage in the sacral area. If you look at that as density, the more it is, the heavier you are. The lower you vibrate, the lower your frequency, the less light you have, the less information you are able to associate and process. The less shame you carry, the more freedom you have, the more neutral your field will be. The more frequency you carry, the more light you carry. Light is information. So the anchor is the sacral and those energies down there. That's what must be released to release these dimensional aspects. And yeah, sorry, Andrina, that was what I was going to put in quickly to that. This is the physics.
Yeah, no sorries needed, because this is about you guys sharing about GPMS and putting it out to the world, and people listening, people sharing, people signing. So is there an age limit? Because I think I read somewhere or heard somewhere about children signing up, and which is great because family members, if they're all signing up, that's wonderful. But I was wondering about, there's lots of other countries that have really come on board, isn't there? I think like there's the Philippines and India, and I don't know all the places and all that, but what I read or saw was much more people in other countries overseas all coming on board, maybe quicker than like the UK or USA.
Who's going to repeat that?
Yeah. Yeah, so I just wondered, which countries have really taken GPMS on board at this moment in time?
India.
I can't got a job to see it here.
29,917.
So obviously there's a tipping point, and like it says at the moment, the numbers,
Yeah,
what your
yeah.
total is.
Yeah, but underneath where it says GPMS numbers, you see where it says track progress in more detail. Click here, click there, and just scroll that down a wee way, and that will give you the country consent numbers. Scroll down a bit further, brother. There you go.
Oh,
So this will give you the overview of the country numbers.
So what is it like the Philippines? I mean, look at the Philippines amount. What is the driving force in the Philippines? Are they so much more aware and enlightened that they could really see this bigger picture?
No, they've suffered more in their own ways and fought more, and they're ready to try anything more than the West. They're less restricted to their ability to see something that gives them freedom than the West. So yes, there's still a lot of restriction, there's still a lot of resistance, but they're much more open to looking after themselves. They've been invaded many more times. They've been under the oppressive regimes many more times, so that they're much more used to choosing something different, and that represents in the numbers. In the West, they're not. So they've only got one choice: government. In the Philippines or India, they certainly. The Philippines has had many types of government and many different dictators and many different territorial overrulers, and they still are under the thumb of many others. So they're more able to take these choices from a different place. Same with Thailand initially and a few others, but they're more able to receive some hope than the West at this stage.
Well, if you go back to India, I mean, they had a form of what do you call it? Suppression, and that was through religion, eh? And because the untouchables were classed as the untouchables at the lowest end of the social calendar or social, what's the name? But they then decided to become Christians, and if they became Christians, then they could move themselves out of being untouchables and place themselves in a new place of dynamics. So a similar situation exists with GPMS in the Philippines.
Yeah. Rick, you were trying. You
Yeah.
I could add to Jeff there, but please, Rick, put in what you were going to, brother.
Over to you, Rick.
Thank you. If I may, my internet has. Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
My internet has been a little bit touchy here. Thank you. There's several things I wish to interject until we go forward here. And Lee, with what Jeff just asked, please, will you comment on that after I'm done here, because I didn't quite hear what Jeff said. I'd like to quickly put in several interjections here. A while ago, Jeff spoke about Bitcoin, parallel monetary systems, and all of this. What I need to say, it's the entire ownership of the internet, which is one of the causes of the problem upon humanity that let's say facilitates the control of humanity, meaning that if the people are not in control and ownership of the internet and of course the financial routing system, then it does not matter how many parallel monetary systems or substitutes like Bitcoin that you create. You are always under that system that someone else controls. So every time when you look at the full absolute remedy for the people, you discover that the root cause is the system, it is the problem, and the ownership of these important worldwide infrastructures. So, again, how GPMS remedies this and sets everyone free is by taking the lawful and rightful ownership of all of the public infrastructure, which includes the internet and the financial routing systems worldwide. Now, I don't need to get into a technical or even a legal contest with this, because what we know absolutely is every individual is a bona fide shareholder, not only of the nation they reside in, but because their nation participates in worldwide trade, they are a bona fide shareholder of the entire public world infrastructure, to keep it simple. Now, having said this, this leads me very quickly up to what you asked, Adrena, about the children. Every child's consent, every child's vote counts in this worldwide referendum vote of GPMS. And for the simple reason, the day that a child is born, they are typically registered into a nation's economy. But by doing that, that is the recognition of them as a bona fide shareholder. For example, in the US, the day that a child is born in the US, then it is stamped on their head that they become a shareholder of the illusionary 91,000 US dollar debt. That is their part of the debt. So when a child is born, they are born directly into $91,000 of debt, which is rising, but it's all an illusion. And on top of that, it takes typically about $8,000 to $9,000 for to give birth in the U.S. So what you're looking at is where they're able to take a child and put in the U.S. over $100,000 debt on a 1 week old child, which is preposterous. Then that means this child is a shareholder and does have a say in their future. You know, I could go into more detail with this, but I don't need to. But one can quickly see the absurdity of the current system. And the current system is the problem. GPMS is the full solution system. So every time, it doesn't matter what you try to do in politics within the system or what have you. It's a looping system that keeps humanity limited, and it has to be broken. There is no sanity in it. It is insane, the system, what it does to humanity. And of course, we have what you call a spiritual battle that is playing out upon the planet. The good actually won, the light, but we are doing the material manifest to take it to full fruition, because the actual evil and darkness cannot go forward. For what they do not have that alignment straight to creator. And when you look at some things in the Bible is true, even though a lot of things have been manipulated throughout antiquity and all scripture and prophecy to some degree, there are some fragments of truth. And one important thing in there is the statement that Jesus made at the Mount of Olives. And he referred to the men made by men do not go forward. Now, if you quickly look at that, what that actually means in this great time, at this time, most are aware that there's many clones in vitro and what have you. And these are what we call minions of darkness. They do not have a soul. They were not created by procreation. So I need to very quickly distinguish for ones to realize that upon the planet, out of what you think is 8 billion souls, humanity, that is not the case. There has been many man-made humanoids, if you will. But again, this doesn't matter. The story is about all of us and believing in the heaven on earth scenario. Once you all believe in this, or once the majority does, it's what happens. It's like with Jesus when he was manifesting the bread, if you will, that conviction and devotion and belief by the others. Jesus had access to the other dimensions where there is the abundance, but by that supporting belief, it allowed for it to come into this reality. And this is upon the same principles as GPMS. Once the majority believe and want it, it comes in. When you look at the Philippines as well, what's so important is the belief in God. This is your direction and this is your lifeline to believe in God as well. It gives you the divine incentive and it compels you forward, if you will. But also with the Philippines, they have had so much experience. They are in extreme poverty that it's common sense, it's logical sense to create this new world to end all of the suffering. And fortunately for the Philippines, they have seen enough. They have tried so many things through the course of their history, and nothing has worked to free them yet because it needs to be done worldwide. It needs to be done on the worldwide scale. It's the only way. One individual country cannot do it. Now, very quickly with flat earthers or round earthers, why waste time on that argument at this time? Once you become the owners of all of the technology upon the planet, you will find out the truth. So don't waste time and let that cause separation. Come together with the one common goal so that we take the lawful, rightful ownership of all the world's infrastructure. Then all of the people knows the truth. If you keep here separated and arguing, you will never know the truth. So it's important with this. The stress level, what what the darkness does in this battle, a spiritual battle, if you will, they propagate the fear instruments, war, and once they get it out there with people seeing it on TV and all of these things, well, fear lowers the veil. It blocks the consciousness. It put one into fate of fear that they cannot see. And this is what the darkness does. But it also drops the people's vibration. The opposite of this, once one's come to know how the darkness uses fear as a tactic to separate ones from their power, then they raise up and they're not subjugated nor controlled by the fear any longer. But also, what I need to say, uh, we look at other things that are going with ones with constitutions, if you will, of the U.S., going back to the old Constitution. When we look at any of these instruments in history, if they work or if they truly worked, why are you here where you're at now, still in suffering? This is the simple thing that they do not work and they have to go. It's not an individual country's constitution. Again, it has to be universal, worldwide by the people. Then you eliminate, again, at the same time, any control over the people, any of the segregation or the separation. Um, so, yes, every child votes and every child lawfully, rightfully has a choice on their future. And it also becomes the obligation of the parents to choose the best future for the children. If the children are too young as to know what they are choosing. So the parents are the guardians of the children, and morally they are obligated to make the right choices for the children as well, meaning that yes, they can vote for their children and add their votes to the list, and rightfully so. It's the most loving moral thing any parents could ever do for their children, to secure a future where their children are free, where they're no longer indoctrinated into the schools to be a robot for a monotonous looping system, which is insanity. I'll stop there. I said a mouthful. Thank you so much.
Totally. Rick, Lee, sorry, over to you.
Again, beautiful what everybody says. Let me just throw in some points. For instance, Jeff's just thrown a quote up on the bottom saying after Shazara, Nizara will be free. All right, this is the point of what we're just saying. We can say all of that coming from the sacral, need to be looked after, and yet people will stand now on this show and say, well, that's what's coming. You know, we can't get past that, which is what we're not going to try to do that. We're not here to educate people. They must do it themselves. So if this is what one's believed, then that's what they will believe. And I'm not here to change them. They'll see in their own time, but they also won't unite, except with those that are in that same separation. Okay. And that's what, you know, we're driving this individually, and GPMS says do no harm. Well, in the longer run, each will find out what their choices have done, but they believe themselves to be doing no harm because they're not creating the division. We are. But they'll see that they were by holding on to limited concepts that were from the sacral, and they will have to forgive themselves. I did a video 2 days ago with a brother here on sacral knowledge, and I made it very mechanical. We did it, made it very functional. What the sacral does, how it does it, why it does it, what it's there for, how to release it, and what must be done to release it through righteous justification, which is judgment, righteous judgment. And I showed it through the solar plexus and showed how the energy works and how the energy comes into the heart and blah, and all of this is a release of hell, which is these third and fourth dimensional aspects. We've gone through this. So each can choose to remain in hell if they wish, but we're here until our brothers and sisters choose to come out. And that's being done on a divine level. Children are all equal because we recognize that we are equal value. So when they are born, of course, they're equal. Legally, they're lawfully, we can put it into the form. The form says we can see why it happens like this, and we can see how we can represent that. So when one says to I, well, there's a child on the floor who's unable, he needs a nappy on, they're incontinent, they don't know anything, they're a blubbering.
He's frozen there.
Yeah. So
their value, they must always be valued equally, regardless as to their physical attributes and all of these things. Otherwise, we lose the value. We think so. These things are equalized, and we are equalizers, if you want, or unifiers. So this is what's held within GPMS, and many perspectives are held around the same thing, but the purity is what is the core. So we can equalize it this way, we can equalize it that way. It doesn't matter, it's equal. And this is what's being brought into all of this. And what Jeff was saying about India with the religions and the separations and everything else, you've got Bangladesh, you've got Pakistan, you've got different parts of India that were separated by the colonial British. I wonder why. And then that caused religion to fight each other. So they're very used to this too. And they're still trying to, of the supposed 1.5 billion, our brothers and sisters in India that are guardians and sharing, representing GPMS, are finding it very difficult in India to share GPMS and freedom with their brothers and sisters there. The numbers may say there's 20,000, but there's 1.5 billion, which is a very small representation of India. So they're not particularly keen in change either in India, but they have we're getting there. We're starting the ball rolling there. Philippines, 115 million Filipinos. We currently got 90,000. It's a very small representation of the overall, but it's the beginning. And these are the vanguards. These are the ones that chose why not. They didn't choose reasons why not. They chose why not. Let's have a go. And this is where we are with this whole thing. Rather than choose why not and step into the unknown, people would rather stay with reasons why not and stay with the known, or better the devil you know. So they would choose to be better the devil you know than move into the other version, which is outside of purgatory. How do you keep people in hell? By getting them to choose better the devil you know. And that's where this whole thing that Rick said about masters of deception, they were, unfortunately, we see through them, but many of our brothers and sisters still don't yet, and still believe those because their own shame. And then they will bring in limitations and tell us why we're wrong, rather than agree we might be right. You see, and this is that miscommunication, and this is all the same thing that's happening all over the world. We can experience it in every country by every individual who's choosing suffering over freedom, because suffering is known to them. Freedom isn't. I dropped my mic drop, whatever. But I did a video on that, and if anybody would wish to see it, maybe Jeff would put it on. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that would be fabulous.
Sacral awareness. and it's not about form, it's just about reflection, my lived experience, or our lived experiences, put into a metaphysics and put into function about what it did and how it did it and why it's necessary and how free you get from it. But this is an inner, most people would call this inner work. We are just giving it more direction, making it more visible, less nebulous, for those that would understand what it is that we are saying, of course. So I'll pass that to you if you wish.
Jump into the private chat there and send me the URL link to that interview you did in the sharing.
Private chat. Okay. Yeah, I will do, brother. Okay.
Right. So going back to the very basics, for people that are listening to the show today that resonate with all what you're saying and would like to be part of this, when they go on the website, and I don't know which link they click on, is it just join here or sign here? They've only got to put in a few details. You don't need their bank account. You don't need their tax details. You don't need none of this carryings on. You just want the very basics. So if people would like to, so their name, their email, date of birth, the country, state, and so just their birthdays, emails, and their names and addresses. It's as simple as that. That's all they have to do. And then
no address. Just
email address.
Just state the city. Email, yes, but only because we can then send them back confirmation, and we can, if there is any case legally and lawfully to justify this, we can.
Yeah.
That's purely to say that we've got these ones. And how do you get somebody off? How do you get them to do this? Emails. Many can do this in any simple way. It's not taking personal information from anybody.
Yeah. So it's as simple as that. Right. So, is there any other things that you would like to say?
Yeah, hang on. You're going to just put this up.
All right. We've gone over time, but we do normally with you guys because you've got a lot of information to share, and we really appreciate you taking the time out to share.
No worries. We can talk about anything for hours and hours and hours and hours, and I'd love to. But what we need is people to give us the pointer about what it is they wish for us to talk about.
Right.
Otherwise, we're just wittering on about other things that maybe we've come across. I would say all, if not all, 99.9% of rejections. We understand where they're coming from fully, not from we understand them, but if we don't know where the individual is blocked, in where it is that they are not blocked, but where it is that they hit their peak, their ceiling, we can't necessarily answer their questions. So we try and keep the answers to a large extent through the consciousness. So it's for all levels. But if some of them would wish to actually go into some more metaphysics or some more history, his story, how that's false and being falsified, yet relied upon. Oops. It did, but my video, my laptop's just gone off. It should come back on.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we put it.
Sorry, my laptop. Am I back? No.
There's a glitch in the matrix.
Yeah, I'm not back. Am I back?
No.
Let me just. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me? You just can't hear me. You just can't see me, but you can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't quite remember where I was. The screen, everything just turned off for a second. Glitch in the matrix.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so we're talking about dilute. Yeah, so really, it's a case of listen. We understand that there's so many different ways of people not understanding or finding out reasons why not to. But we can amplify the ones that find the reasons to, but we can't answer the questions for the ones that find reasons not to, unless they give us an area to look into. So we try and keep things as loose and as open as we can, fully inclusive, which is what GPMS is, fully inclusive. Yes, we can talk to higher spiritual. Yes, we can talk to higher than that too. But we've also got to talk to everybody else. So Yeah, if you want to go further, Andrina, Jeff, anybody, there's not many topics that we couldn't speak to very thoroughly at this stage.
All right. Well, we'll have a chat about that and see what else we could come up with, and that you could share your message.
Oops, there we go. It's just me.
Let me
Sorry,
just try
holding
that.
the fort. Well, there you go.
Right. Sorry about that. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, that's okay.
Rick, is there anything else you'd like to leave us with today?
Thank you, Adrina. Again, one thing that I wish to emphasize, the only true way to world peace is equality by all. So you see some of these other narratives, again, putting riches or money in the hands of a few while the rest of the world is neglected. Uh, Again, it is the system that creates the disparity in the imbalance and the competition and the fighting. And it is this current system, and there is no solution within it. And that's why the GPMS replacement system, all inclusive, is upon the planet. So when ones get tired of their old beliefs, going through their process of reconciliation and discernment and logical reasoning and rationale, once they reach that, they will fully know, the only logical common sense solution for the entire planet is GPMS.world. And I'll just add in the numbers of children dying daily of starvation, as well as uh, adults worldwide, is steadily increasing. And it's now well over 10,000 children dying daily, which about a year ago it was around 8,500. So you're seeing more and more dying. And also in the US, what I wish to say, I cannot verify this with any, let's say, document evidence, but one of the things we've been given in the US now, with a workforce of over 200 million, about 20% of that workforce has become disabled, which equates to perhaps, I believe, 64 million. But these numbers are a few months outdated, and I anticipate they'd be much higher now. Uh, and also in the US, it's becoming fearful place, if you will. And if you're connected to ones there, you can get on the ground direct information on what they're observing and experiencing in these great times. And I need to say this because if other false narratives and other narratives and presentations were correct, would you be seeing all of this devastation? You should have seen it getting better under these other narratives. You do not. You actually see it getting worse. So this is a red flag for anyone, that is considering other narratives other than GPMS. And when you look at GPMS.world, it is all the white flags. So just for anyone, just take your time, take a half hour, take an hour, have a nice tea or an organic cigarette like I do. It's organic tobacco. It connects you to spirit. Take the time, read the website and feel it, and look at it. And our comparison page we have on there, we have approximately 57 comparison articles of what you have now and what you have in the new system, GPMS.world, what you're creating. And thank you so much, Jeff. Yeah, that is it. And you can do your comparison to see, I like to say, how it's a no-brainer choice for anyone. It is the full liberation for the planet. And again, for if you keep the old capitalistic system and their money protocol and the way they create money into reality, if you keep that in there, if you have a lot of wealthy billionaires, which you already have worldwide with increasing death, you're not going to have any difference because money is limited within the capitalistic system. It is controlled and it is looped. And again, at any time when you see a government in the past injecting money into the economy, where does it go? Well, most of it goes into the offshore accounts. It goes to the rich, the elite. The elite keep getting richer while the lower class becomes bigger with extreme poverty because the system itself creates the disparity, which is the direct infliction of harm upon humanity. So the current system, again, because of what it does to all of humanity, cannot compete nor compare nor contest or oppose what GPMS is. So again, you get the common sense, the logical, rational thinking of ones that everyone is going to choose it. And Mariana, I saw earlier, put a comment on here. It is inevitable and it is imminent. And what I wish to say with that, for GPMS to go viral, we could have this heaven on earth in a month or so. It's that easily and quickly done if the majority of the people choose it within the month. Instead of us, we've been about 3 years now with very few relatively yet choosing it. However, I'm very grateful today to see that we have 150,000. We went over that number supporting GPMS, and it continues to grow. And if we're to look at prospects in the Philippines and India, just as two examples, the majority of these people are choosing it and they're going to choose it. We're only seeing the very tip of the iceberg, what is coming in, with a lot more that are in alignment with it. And the quicker we get the numbers done, the quicker we can do it. And there are divine designated leaders upon the planet that are the higher Christ consciousness and that are also fully competent for all of humanity. We're not out for our own self interests, and we cannot be bought by the system. We're here to bring freedom and abundance to all of humanity, and we're not in the way of that. So it is imminent and inevitable. Thank you.
Can I add? Have we got time?
Yeah.
I'm back, I think.
You are.
Again, to what Rick's just said there, beautiful. Absolutely. But then I can come in on another level, and what Jeff's opened up here is that there is a spiritual area to this too, sacral and the knowledge of this. So we can talk to that too, because that is also inclusive. So I will. And we know, the Rick and I, at least, that there's 5.03 divine designations upon this planet, 5.03 million here, as divine intervention relatively. There's our human brothers and sisters, and there's also a divine team on the ground doing the groundwork at 5.03 million. We also know that energetically, higher consciousness affects and will sway a lot of the lower frequencies, up to 1 million each plus, maybe a plus. So we've got 5.03 million that are higher consciousness here to assist on a ground team that are the quality. Those qualities, if they come together, will assist all of our brothers and sisters who maybe aren't aware of that yet. So the ones that have come here for this time, the ones that know they have, the designations that know they are the quality relatively that needs to unite to assist and guide and shine the light for all of our other brothers and sisters. And this is where we are looking for the unity of the quality, the divine, what Rick just called there, divine designated leaders, who at the moment are separate because they have other ideas, and those ideas are not in alignment. So we have division within the divine teams, and okay, it's all perfect, but it must be recognized and removed, and the unities come together so that we form the agreement, and therefore the alignment, the amplification of energy, and the choice to manifest then becomes closer. We can assist by unifying ourselves around a choice without having to get the whole of humanity involved whilst giving them the choice. But we are where we are. So Rick can talk about, we can talk about this on different variances, and bring it to the people. Now, there's divine designations out there that know they are and will still have their own ideas. What I'm saying is the same as Rick is saying. No, that separation. Can you not see the insanity of that? But many don't yet see it. So it's not just the insanity of the human experience, but it's also the insanity of the divine experience as well within the human experience that is still a little bit causing, or has been, separated. And this must unite around a common goal, a common cause. And there's GPMS from that area too. So this is all about assisting each other.
Hey,
Thank you.
The magic word you said in your conversation then was time. And I'm just sitting here and I realized there was a movie called In Time with Justin Timberlake. I don't know if you're aware of it, but it was about time, and you worked, and you were given credits, and you went onto your armband, and it was an electronic device, and you basically lived to 25 or whatever, but you had to go and secure enough time credits for you to maintain your life for the next day. And so if you're poor, basically, if you didn't get enough credits, you died. That's how that system worked. And the game plan here at Justin Timberlake, his role was where he saved this guy who was going to commit suicide, who was one of the elites. And the guy leant over there and just bloody handed over a century of time to this Justin Timberlake. And then the authorities said, how can a poor guy have a century of time? And so they framed him for murder. But he actually ended up with a cohort female. They broke into the office of the time vault, and they got the infinite time signature, and they went around and gave everybody infinite time, where they had the freedom now to be humans. A fantastic story, and basically the freedom was the main pursuit of this particular movie. That was the theme. So, which is what you guys are saying. Like, move out of the current realm, get out of your sacral, move into a higher realm, heart based. And then you can then start manifesting abundance. So that's basically the summary of our conversation today.
And if you understood from what you just said about Justin Timberlake and this idea of time, and this being a commodity, and if you didn't have it, then you would die. That's a belief system. That's false. It's only the belief in it that caused it to be realized. So what Justin Timberlake did was, in fact, released the belief in it and gave everybody freedom not to believe in it and not have to believe in it anymore. But in that way, it was a physical thing that he handed them to release that. But the belief that they needed it was what he needed to release. And we can't give anything physical. But we're talking to exactly the same thing. Believe in yourselves. You don't need to have these limitations within you, and then you can raise your frequency as long as you forgive that which has gone past and you don't hold grudges or density within. If you believe in yourself and you know that everything is perfect and you release yourself from all of that shame, then you're not subject to time. But if you don't, you are. Time is all external. It doesn't exist inside of us. It only is a belief system. And it's releasing that belief system. So yes, absolutely aligned, brother. In same story, different form.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Well, I think we've lost Rick.
That's all right.
I mean. So
Rick,
it's been a real delight having you both on the show, and I've loved your sharing, and we will see what we can do to help bring up the numbers more here, there, and everywhere, especially on this solstice, this summer solstice, here where we have the lovely sunshine at last. So thank you so much, Lee, for coming on, and we'll talk to you later. And thank you, everybody, for listening.
Carry on. Go on,
Thank
Lee.
you, Andrino. I think you just put the website, my web address up, and it's Lee M, not Lee Mudway. I think at GPMS.world. So it's Lee M at GPMS.world. Lee.M, not Mudway.
I got that off your
If
website.
anybody wishes. Possibly.
Oh, no,
I may change that too.
No, it's not. No, it's on the web. I might be on the air. I've just played it up.
Just for clarity.
Go,
Thank you so much, Andrew. There you go. Thank you so much, guys, for inviting us back and allowing it. Well, giving us the space to share this again. I feel it's important, and others may not. We'll see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Our delight and pleasure. So thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. Same time, same place next week.
Very good.
Love to all of us as we come into unity, guys. Thank you all so much.
Okay. Thank you.